So, welcome to episode 17 of season 3. If you just joined, this is Maria at Maria the Arcane on Instagram, and I'm joined by the ever so lovely Robin at A Tired Witch on Instagram.
Stop.
And please be sure to stick around to the end to see what's coming next week.
Yes. And before we get started on the episode, we want to remind you guys that we have started doing classes on our Patreon. So it's a once monthly class hosted by a different instructor every time. This month is Basics of Heathenry, which will be hosted by Warrior Witch Nike. Very excited about that. It's going to be on September 24th, I think. Yes.
We're so organized, guys. We're on it.
It will be. I will say, too, for those of you who have been on the fence about perhaps joining for these classes, we've had a few questions about what if we can't make the class. I will be recording it, and it will be available on the library tier for 1 month. I'm going to keep it hosted for a month. So if you would like to see the class, but you, for whatever reason, can't come, you can still watch it.
Yeah. And if you can stick around too on the Discord that we have set up for it, where you can talk to Nike and ask a bunch of questions.
Yes.
So that will be good.
I've got it all set up so that way if you join the library tier, although you don't have full access to the Discord to do our other events that we have on there, or even just asking questions and talking with your peers. When the class is happening, there is a chat section so that way you can ask Nike questions and they can respond. So I think it's going to be really good. Of course, this is our first month, but I think we have it pretty well laid out, and I think it's going to be really great.
Yeah, and I can't wait for us to announce the next guest too.
Yeah, we have
it's going to be so good.
4 months, I think, including this one, picked out, and we've got agreements with people, so we're very excited to announce all of them.
Yeah, I think that we should announce the next guest next full episode with our guests that we're going to have. I think that'll be good.
Yes, I agree. I think it's going to be great. If you've just joined us this week, every single week we talk about upcoming lunar phases and how you can utilize that for your practice. As a reminder, this is not a check-in or an astrological forecast based off of your zodiac. This is simply the astrological phase the moon will be in and how we can use it as witches. So that being said, our upcoming lunar phase is going to be on September 25th. It is the Libra new moon. And simultaneously, we are currently in a Mercury Retrograde. So there's a few things to consider. New moons in Libra are a really great time to utilize finding more balance in your practice, bringing, peace, balance, justice to anything that you need in your life. And because new moons are really good for fresh starts, if you are somebody who is dealing, let's say, with legal battles, this would be a really, really good time to utilize magic to kind of sway those legal battles into your favor. Simultaneously, if it is more mundane and not courthouse appropriate, you can also utilize this new moon to just sway really anything into your favor that you feel you are not really being seen justly in, or you have the chance of not being seen justly in. But that being said, because we are in a retrograde until October 9th, I would pick and choose which things you're going to do magic for that have the least likelihood for error. Retrogrades are times that things like our communication and technology kind of have hiccups. And so if you're trying to do any kind of spell work that deals with things like communication, I know that I just said that the new moon in Libra is a really great time to sway things in your favor. If the thing you're trying to sway in your favor deals with communication, I personally would perhaps skip it this month. Wait till retrograde is over and focus on it at that time. That's just my personal opinion. Of course, you can utilize your magical practice however you so choose. But these are just some ideas. What do you think, Maria?
For Libra, for me, it's a very self-care oriented new moon. So for me, it's like all like self-care and self-love and doing like ritual baths and stuff like that, and just taking
I love that.
like, yeah, like finding that balance with self-care and stuff like that, because so many of us like put ourselves last, and so it's kind of like a way to restore balance, to bringing it back to self and paying attention.
I know a lot of our listeners are moms.
Right.
We're not talking about you, but we are.
All the parents are like, yes, preach. But and then also like I also romance sort of thing, and like relationships, and making sure the balances are right in like your relationships and things like that. And especially, as you said, Mercury retrograde, making sure your communication is right with your partner or your friends. Are you responding enough? Are you there for them enough, as much as they are there for you, and vice versa?
Are you perhaps getting a text message that you're reading in a tone that wasn't intended by the sender?
Exactly. And then especially with relationships and stuff, the dark moon will also be in Libra the night before that. And you can explore codependency, and like maybe, I know Libra isn't connected to the Empress, but it does. For me, the Empress has a very Libra vibe about her. But like, are you maybe being too self-indulgent with self-care, or self-indulgent towards like other things? That's a great thing to explore, that this dark moon, in my personal opinion. Anything where balance is off relating to self.
Yep.
So, if you just started listening to us, every podcast we talk about a random tarot card. We go over the universal meanings and then our own interpretations of the cards. Hearing others' opinions helps beginners form their own opinions, or even those who have been practicing for a while expand their views on other meanings. So, this week we're going to talk about the Chariot. We did the reversal, I don't know, a few episodes ago, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know which card we should do, so I ask a deck. So that's what popped out. So we're doing the Chariot. And we haven't done it upright. So let's get to it.
Back.
On the Rider-Waite-Smith version of this card, you will see a chariot being pulled by two sphinxes, one black one and one white. Our chariot driver wears a crown of stars, which is also reflected on the cloth that covers the carriage. On their armor, there is a square, and on the front of the chariot is a toy-like top. And on the top of that is a golden snitch. I'm just kidding. It's just a ball with wings, but yes, a golden snitch. And a town or city lies behind our chariot driver. Okay, so the universal keywords of this card are taking action, willpower, success, and focus. So when this card comes up in readings, to me, it's the epitome of real world energy, like moving forward with important plans. Just like with the Page of Pentacles, it shows that someone is hyper focused on a singular goal, or at least goals that all encompass leading to the same direction, leading to the same outcome. This card reminds us that we need to take the positive and the negative, the ups and downs, bringing these goals to fruition. Things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go right. But the whole point is to keep going, even when things are going wrong, because we want to get to those results. And this is a major arcana card. So, you need to keep focusing on moving forward. I also see this card a lot when people are moving away from something from their past and are embracing the future. Like, this is represented by the town or city behind our chariot driver. It's okay to look in the rear view mirror, but this card advises that moving forward motion and forward thinking is necessary. Like, the past is the past. Leave it there. Learn from it. But when this card is upright in a negative position, for me, it acts as a warning that the hyper focusing and leaving things in the dust is actually hurting you. I tend to see this when people are avoiding something. And something they should not avoid, or be like, well, this belongs to the past, but it doesn't. Just because you're ignoring it doesn't mean it's not there, and doesn't need your attention, and I know I brought this up in the reversal, but sometimes when we're super focused on things, we kind of let other things fall to the wayside. And when we want, this card is also about balance. So it's just like balancing those other things too, while you're still remaining on track for your goals. So how about you? How about you?
I will say that I agree with you on most things with this card. The one thing that I will add to it is that I think that this card is a good reminder of it's okay to be confident about something that you haven't quite achieved yet, because you are working towards it and it is going to happen. It's a good assurance card. If you look at the card itself, the Chariot is being pulled by two sphinxes, and those sphinxes are not actually attached to the carriage at all. There is no lead, no ropes, anything like that. And to me, it is a good symbol that you yourself can do this. You just need to have the confidence. It is going to work out. There's no grand master kind of plan here that things have to align perfectly, because in this card, the sphinxes, the horses, whatever you want to call them. I mean, they are sphinxes, but if it were a real chariot, they would be horses, right?
Yeah, and sometimes the other decks is represented by horses.
Yeah, so. But they aren't even connected, and yet the chariot is still moving forward towards that victory. And so it, to me, is just such a huge card of having faith in yourself and confidence. And I know people get kind of cautious about confidence versus cockiness, and this is a really good time to just remind yourself that it's okay to celebrate in your own success and accomplishments and things that are going to happen for yourself.
I love that. You're so smart.
Thanks.
That's very good.
Very pretty too. Smart,
so
beautiful,
pretty. So
giant
pretty.
jugs. I mean, she's a full package, baby.
and you guys can't see Robin, but Robin's rocking this Winona Ryder 90s hairdo right now, and it's very it's it. It is stunning. It is gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. So a few weeks ago, we had a giveaway on Instagram, and one of the prompts on there was things that you would love to see for a new episode. And we had a few people say that if we could do an episode just on where to get started. And Maria and I figured that because it was the start of witchy season, aka the time of year where a lot of people kind of start exploring their spirituality, or even
we as a collective just come together.
Yeah,
in our
reignite the spirituality if you've kind of walked away from it a little bit. Whatever. There's lots of things that are happening this time of year. We thought we could do that for this episode.
Yeah, very excited.
So, Maria, what is your number one tip for new people in terms of where to get started?
Okay. Don't
judge you. I'm about to judge her, guys.
I know it's really easy to get overwhelmed when you first start. There's so many things to learn, so many things to do. You go to the bookstore and there's it's no longer that there's a single metaphysical, section, a new age section. Now it's a section.
Massive.
Which is amazing, which is so great that we have so many resources now at this point in time. But I think a lot of witches get overwhelmed with all those resources. I think a great place to start is to pick up books that you actually connect with. Like, what are you already interested in? Are you interested in art? Are you interested in writing? Are you interested? Because if you're interested in art, you might really like tarot, like the imagery and all that. I mean, it's, you know, finding stuff that you're interested in. Like, there's going to be a point in time where you can expand your views. That's like when you feel comfortable within your practice. But right now, when you first start, it's stuff that you're like, I am so excited to learn this. It's like creating that spark that you can keep going off of and creating that sustainable practice rather than getting like, I know it's so easy to be like, grab like 10 different books on 10 different things, be like, oh my God, I got to read these all at the same time. I got to shove them in my brain. But no, let's
consume them.
Let's pick a subject. And that doesn't mean that you can't explore the basics. Like, there are books where you can explore the basics and one other thing. Do that. 100% do that. But don't grab tarot, astrology, what other things are out there. But, you know, there's so many different things. But just stick with the subject. Stick with the subject until you feel comfortable in it.
Yourself.
Yeah. And honestly, a great beginner's book to actually do magic, not just like to read about it, that actually could be like, oh, I can do that, is Judica Illis' book. I think it's The Big Book of Practical Spells. At the beginning, it's very like, book. Yeah, it's all beginner stuff and how to get started. And it's just Judica's writing style is like very down to earth, very practical, as I've already said. And it's nice. And, you know, it's not like you need to go on top of Mount Vesuvius and go get like the blood of a virgin, which is like
you must go into the woods and find 3 eyes of newt,
which is her other book, 5,000 Spells. Which I love. I mean, that's one of my favorite books, spell books, one of my favorites. And I do think beginners should have it because it's fun to just like pick through and like see things. There are simpler spells in it, but there are some spells in there that's like, whoa, okay, like this is not reasonable or doable. But they're still fun to read about. How about you? What's your biggest tip?
I don't have one. I have 3.
Well, I have multiple, so we'll go back and forth.
Yeah, it's just, I've got 3 that I don't know which one is the most important. So I'm just going to start with one and just know that the 3 big tips I've got, I think are all equally important. I think one of the first things that a new witch should do is create some kind of sacred space for themselves. And when I say that, that might be an altar, that might be a shoebox altar, that might be a corner in your bedroom where you keep a plant and one of those little pillows for meditating. It's going to look different for everybody. And I think too many new witches get really caught up in altars, especially ones that they see online. And they think that they have to kind of meet that. And I know we've talked about this many times, but when you're first starting out, your altar space literally might be a candle, a rock, and some good wishes. But I think it's really important to have a space that you have designated for like spirit to sit, for you to have for yourself, that is dedicated for your practice. And everyone's practice is going to be different. So when you're first starting out, utilize it for what, like Maria said, where you don't get overwhelmed with 30 different things. Utilize it for what you are working with right now. That could be just meditation. That could be developing a relationship with spirit. That could be just getting into tarot or ritual of some kind, like lesser banishing ritual every day or something. You know what I mean? It's going to look different for you, whatever it is. And like Maria said, you focus on your one thing and cater a sacred space specifically to that. And don't compare yourself to people that you see on the internet. Those are established witches with established practices that their altar is catered specifically to their needs at that time. Yours are at the very beginning going to look very different, but what's important isn't having the perfect statue of Aphrodite or, you know, some wonderful silver chalice that you got from a thrift store. You might eventually get those things, but what's important starting off is dedicating a sacred space to yourself, cleansing it, doing protection magic for it, making dedications for it, etc. And that is going to look very specific for you and for your practice, but creating that dedicated space, I think, is so important when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
And like I said, it might just be like a pillow and a plant when you're first starting out. It's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah. And I kind of want to bounce off of what you said.
Yeah.
Also as new witches, like, we tend to spend a lot of money. Well,
a lot of money.
And it's like, when I first I came out to my wife, I forgot how long ago now, I think 6 years. All I had to, like, when I came out was a shelf. That's all I had, was a shelf and a few crystals. And it's taken time to build that. And there's no reason for you to go, and there's nothing that you need, like, right off the bat, besides maybe some books, which you can even get from, the library. Exactly.
And Kindle Unlimited, if you have it, Scribed.
Exactly. Just, you don't you don't have to get that $50 crystal or anything. You can even do the whole, casting spells within your mind if you're really good at envisioning and things like that. And if you're looking for cute altar stuff, there's no reason to go into debt buying cute altar stuff. Like, honestly, most of my altar stuff comes from thrift shops. Like, go explore thrift shops. And yes, please do cleanse them when you do get them. And there is nothing wrong with using kitchen herbs and spices in your spell work. There's
not at all.
No.
McCormick Coven for life, baby.
And you'd be surprised at how much they cover, like, correspondence wise. If one's, like, let's say you want to use, I'm trying to think, like, birch leaves for money. Instead, you could use, like, oregano or there's
basil.
Always, exactly. There's always something you can replace it with. Always.
Yep.
Well, not always, but that virgin usually on top of Mount Vesuvius, like, obviously that's,
you can replace that, and that's easy. I'm willing to be your virgin. I know technically speaking, I'm not a virgin, but I also am. So,
and since that was kind of short, but another thing is that I think it's very important to, a lot of witches have, like, some apprehension to even doing spell work at first. They they're too scared to start.
That was going to be my next one.
Well, we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
But a lot of witches think that they, like, I know people who have not done a spell within a year of them identifying as a witch because they're too scared to. Part of learning is by doing. And if you're not doing, you're honestly not going to add that deeper layer to your practice. And just, and, like, even, like, with tarot cards and stuff like that, you've got to I know it's a lot to keep up with at first, and it's a lot to, like, learn at first, but you repetitively doing it for yourself and for others, you form a deeper connection to tarot, and you will get eventually more comfortable over time with it.
I agree with you. And I really, really think that social media has created, I know I said this like a million times in the past, but social media has created this false air of fear that gets put into people, that they're afraid to go out and practice and do things because, well, what if I do it wrong? It ruins my life. Well, the fact of the matter is, and I think any seasoned witch will tell you this, unless you have been practicing, and I mean doing the craft portion of witchcraft, unless you have been practicing for years and you've done your trial and error and you have really channeled what kind of energy behind your spell work, the knowledge, having a relationship with your gods, your deities, the universe, freaking whatever, is until you really get solid and comfortable in what works for you. Most likely, if you mess something up, at best, you're going to have a minor inconvenience, but more likely, it's just not going to work. That's going to be the not messed up.
I mess up like almost every spell. Like something will accidentally pour over the bottle.
Sure,
I will
yeah.
spell something wrong on my intention paper, and I'll just like, in my opinion, spirit knows what you mean. Like, as long as you're not hyper focused on it, they're not going to be hyper
Exactly. And
focused on
I
it.
really think, like I said, the internet, as well as I would say literature as well. And by literature, I mean, when you get spell books or you get books that have spells in it, they give you instructions, right? They give you your step by step on how to do it. And then it's, well, what if I don't do it exactly like that? Like, I'm just going to be very candid about this. They made that spell up. That is not passed down from generation to generation. I mean, it might be if you're doing like an ancestral grimoire or something like that. But more than likely is a spell that they created that works for them, that they are sharing with you, that they got from somewhere else or from trial and error, etc. This isn't Charmed. It's not a giant book that they got this from that's been passed down for 500 years and you have to do it exactly right or you're going to summon the demons. Like, that is not how this works. And while I can understand and empathize the fear, part of witchcraft is the craft portion of the word. Get out there, do it. And this is why it's important to keep a book of shadows, keep a journal, and write stuff down. You write down what you did, but you also write down a follow-up. You know, did this work for me? If you put triggers in your spell, did you see your triggers go off? These sort of things. And you write it down so that way next time, you know, you go to do that, I don't know, love spell. You can refer back to it and what didn't work for you, what did work for you, and trial and error. It's something that I think way too many people are afraid of messing up, that they never just do it. And a part of being a witch, a part of witchcraft, is the craft portion of it. Now, doing spell work and doing magic is going to look different person to person. So maybe for you, it's trance meditation spell work. Maybe that's your craft. You know what I mean? Maybe your craft is, you know, leaving offerings at big trees or something like that. I can't tell you exactly what your spell work could or should look like because it looks different based off of your path, your, you know, personal opinions, your ability, your accessibility, etc. But a huge part of witchcraft is the craft portion. So go be brave and start doing it.
Yeah. And going off of that, I think just a lot of witches, when it comes to what resonates and what doesn't, especially newer witches, they go and they do something that doesn't resonate with them. Like they use a herb or an ingredient that doesn't resonate and they just keep going forward with the spell. And then they carry that anxiety of them not resonating with that ingredient with them. And it kind of, I feel like it does end up ruining their spell that they did.
I agree.
And that's why it's so important to find out what resonates with you and what doesn't resonate with you. Because you're not going to agree with everything an author says. Like, even like books that I do resonate with, I don't resonate with them 100%. And that's more than reasonable. And we're even learning in those books what works for us and what doesn't. But where was I going with that? Hello. But
hello.
And then that's also important is that when you're looking at ingredients, if it doesn't resonate with you, I highly recommend looking up why that correspondence is there in the first place. Because I think a lot of us it doesn't resonate with us because we don't know the history. We don't know the tales that go behind the ingredient. We don't know why we're using it. And that's why I recommend before you do a spell, look up why you're using the ingredient. So you're like, I'm adding this because of this reason. And if that, even because of the history, if the history still doesn't make it resonate with you, you can always, you know, replace it with something that does. Find out what corresponds with that and replace it. And it's also important that authors, when they're writing books, they're told to speak like they know the subject and that you need to do this exactly correct. There's no room for like nuance or like you could, do it a different way. I mean, you can say that, but you still have to be very straightforward because the editors will be like, you can't, it sounds passive. But unfortunately, a lot of the material that you read should be passive because you're learning and you're like putting in what resonates with you. And that's not going to, as I said, that's not going to be what every author has to say,
Well, going
sense.
off of that, going off that, my third and final whatever bit. Have I said three things? Did I say all three things?
We're just talking.
Anyway, the third thing that I really think is important is understanding. What I think is more important than getting a beginner book, right, is giving yourself an understanding, a baseline understanding of where things come from. Like, for example, I know that a lot of people get caught up in this trap. That's what I'm going to call it, for lack of a better term. When they first get started, when it comes to like rules and stuff like that, because they read like a book and that book said it, and that person who wrote the book is a renowned person in our, community. And I think that's great. Like, reading books from big, renowned people is important. However, I think it's also important to understand where that author's kind of opinion is being shaped from. You read, let's say, a book by Gerald Gardner, right? Yes, he's the founder of Wicca, but he also has a background in like the Order of the Golden Dawn, which is a Hermetic order background. And so I think it's important to understand where these authors have kind of shaped their view from, because most books, in my opinion, are written from a very Eurocentric, not just Eurocentric, but UK-centric, kind of spiritual background, because witchcraft by definition comes from England. But then of course, you have other spiritual practices that, because of things like colonization, witchcraft has, of course, that term has been fitted to many different folk practices across the world. So I think it's important to understand when you're getting started where something like path-wise and global perspective-wise, where it's coming from. Because I've noticed a lot of newer people get very preachy about what you can and can't do, and it completely lacks any nuance for like the rest of the fucking world.
I also feel like it's a lot of UPG too, even if it's like years and years of UPG, Yeah, because I don't know. I did a post recently that like 300 years ago, we didn't have witchcraft books. We didn't do anything. It was all intuition based and home based,
or passed down word of mouth, like from your family.
Yeah, there were rules, but there weren't like you don't hang your broom right side up on your door,
right.
Which you can, because you can bring in abundance that way. It's not just a chase away of spirits if you put it upside down. I'm just letting not that I was called out for that or anything. It's fine. But
he has no personal connection to this guy. It's crazy. That just popped in her head randomly.
But people's opinions and as I said, what resonates with them and what doesn't, and it's not going to be, not everyone's rules are going to fit your rules,
right? And like, I guess my point is with all of it is, in most books, it's changing now because we've had this huge resurgence of witchcraft and paganism and spirituality in general in the last few years. But the majority of books that predate 2018 have a Wiccan viewpoint, and there is nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with having a Wiccan viewpoint. But simultaneously, you, the consumer, need to kind of educate yourself on that a little bit. So that way you are recognizing that when you are regurgitating this sort of information or talking about it with people, etc., that it is from a very specific viewpoint. And I know we talked about this a couple episodes back when we had Afro Spiritual on, but if you don't recognize that, you might find yourself in a situation where you're being accidentally anti-Semitic, where you're being accidentally like racist, or
that's what I was going to bring up
oppressive
too. Like,
and bigotry.
There's a lot of books that like are appropriating that are still coming out even today, and I still see passed around, and it's like, it's just, I don't know.
I do view it through a lens of we're all human beings and we're all learning. And I truly want to believe trying to do our best to relearn these kind of things. But I do think that's super important to make a baseline, education for yourself. So that way, not only are you not accidentally appropriating, but simultaneously you're not perhaps projecting your own path, especially in early days, onto people that perhaps have a very different background than you. So it's just something to consider.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, do you have any other tips that you think people need to know when they're first getting started?
Trying to think. I don't think
I really have any either.
Well, okay. I have one more that I did think about. I do think, a lot of witches, especially around this season, they mostly stay indoors and practice witchcraft instead of going out into the natural world. And I think even no matter what type of witch you are, going outside and like connecting with the spirits of, forests, of the world around you is so important. It'll also help you, form a relationship with the land around you, and also help you create a sustainable practice rather than something short term. I know that it's hard to find, if you're not living where you love, you're going to have a hard time like connecting with the land. But eventually, if you keep going out there, you will find stuff that you connect with and that you do love. And I don't know. I really do think going out and
even if you live in a city, getting outside under the moon in a safe way is still a great way to connect. Like going for an evening stroll with somebody that maybe makes it a little safer, etc. Just little things. You can still get outside even if you live in a city. You don't have to be in a deep woods to connect with the outdoors.
Or you just like, go sit out on your porch, get some fresh air, whatever, even if I know that there's some people out there who's like, ugh, nature, no. No thank you.
No thank you. No thank you. No thank you.
But you can still like do things that you're comfortable with that helps you connect with the land and spirits around you.
I agree.
So Robin, what is stirring your cauldron this week?
I'm rock hard. Thank you so much for asking.
You're so welcome.
I'm actually, this is a creator, sort of. It's a publishing house. I know I've talked about them a bunch of times, but I am like crazy for Liminal 11 right now. They have started coming out with books. I just showed Maria a book that they sent me. Obviously they do tarot and oracle decks, and the quality is just unmatched. Like, they're just unmatched. I've yet to find another like big box, I guess you could call it, tarot company that seems to put the same thought, care, and quality into a deck that is a comparable price to, something that would come from like Barnes and Noble or whatever.
100%.
You're paying $25 for a deck that like has a magnet hard box and has gilded 400
edges?
GSM cardstock, gilded edges. They when they do a matte deck, it doesn't stick together. It's like matte without sticking. Like when they do a gloss deck, it's like gloss without freaking slipping and sliding into the freaking universe. I have yet to find something of theirs, even if I didn't resonate with their deck. For example, I just did a giveaway for the metaphysical cannabis deck that they did because I don't smoke weed. Like, the deck is freaking stunning. Like, it is beautiful. It is so well made. It is another freaking high quality item from them. And I am a liminal 11 girl for Ride or Die. I have half a mind to pitch my next book to them because I really stand behind this company. I think it's incredible.
No,
like,
I
they really seem to care about us. Do you know what I mean? And not just trying to make a quick cash grab.
Quick cash grab. And then, like, I feel like they go through like a layer of like, will the customer actually like this? Do they want an inch worth of borders around the cards and the images? No, they don't. No,
they don't.
That's like 2% of people who actually like that.
And I love that they continue to support indie artists. They're taking on these indie, like, I mean, their names now, most of them, right? Because their decks have done so well. But pre their deck, these no-name artists that are so talented, but nobody's ever heard of. And they're giving them these platforms and
I really
feel like they are creating products for tarot readers, by tarot readers, like, you know what I mean? With real care and consideration. And then they're not making it $100. They're making it an affordable price.
Exactly. And honestly, like, some of my favorite books, like Fez Inkwright has 2 books by them, 2 herbal books, one poison one and one folk magic. And then they also have the Seed and Sickle, also by Fez. Like, favorites. I love it. Beautiful.
Even if, like I said, even if I haven't personally resonated with something that they have created, I have yet to be disappointed by something they've created. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So I'm digging them so much. Like, I really think everything they're doing is just so top notch, and I am just really, really impressed.
Agreed.
So, Maria, what's not stirring your cauldron this week?
Thank you so much for asking. So, obviously, this is the worst Mercury retrograde ever for me personally. No, I'm serious. This Mercury retrograde is not stirring my cauldron. It's horrible, and I am straight up not having a good time. Like, let me out of here. Is it October 9th yet? Like, I'm banging on the door. Like, let me out. But I like anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Pretty much.
Right.
Like, okay, let me lay it all out. So, child's medication. Went to the pharmacy, $500 they asked for. And I'm like, no.
Why?
No. Even with a coupon. And I was like, this is a medication they need. My insurance company was like,
God bless America.
And my insurance company was like, we don't cover that. We don't do that. And then I guess Spectrum had a breach, and my credit card information got stolen, so I had to change credit cards.
Oh my god, Em, I didn't know that. That's horrible.
It's been horrible. Like, and there's just like other like little things. My wife and I would just look at each other and just start laughing and be like, can you believe?
Why not?
But, and then I don't know, it's just been horrible. Like, I feel like communication's been off. I've been off with communication, and I'm already so bad at it. I think, like, if you're neurodivergent, like, Mercury retrograde is like harder if you're neurodivergent, because no amount of like slowing down or like, re-looking things over is really going to help you. Mercury retrograde for neurodivergent people is like a practice of self-love and self-patience and self-forgiveness. Like, it's really an ongoing thing of like being nice, kind to yourself through it. So if you're having a hard time and especially if you're neurodivergent, just be kind to yourself. Like, you're going to hear everywhere being like, you just need to slow down. You know, you need to take it slow. That's not realistic for many
That is
people.
not how my brain works, Susan.
Well, and if you're at a job that like is unrealistically demanding stuff for you, but you need this job, there's nothing you can freaking do about it. You know, like, obviously if you can slow down, do slow down, but know that it's not realistic for everybody. And
that's
unfortunately, we're just going to ride this struggle bus all the way to the finish line, and we will get there. We'll get there.
Hell yeah.
As a collective.
I'm proud of you.
As a collective, we're going to do this together. We're in it.
If you've just joined us this week, every single week we talk about creators that we are loving right now. These are not advertisements. These are just things that we found organically. So that being said, Maria, who are you digging right now?
So it is a photographer. She's a photographer. I know that she's on Instagram. I don't know if she's on any other platform, but it's alyssathorne.co. And she has these beautiful, gorgeous, like floral arrangements that she takes photos of that are very, to me, they're very witchy, because there's like pomegranates and snakes and all that. It's just, I like, as a photographer, I definitely appreciate it. And I love still life photography. So
yes,
10 out of 10.
Yes.
Like, I highly recommend you checking out her work. And she even makes like phone cases, prints, and stuff like that. And
really?
Yeah. Big fan. And it's, you know, I saw who you put for who you're loving, and right away I knew who it was, even though I don't know their because of you tagging me.
I know. I'm really into this ceramic artist called Throw and Grow Ceramics. They made cauldrons, ceramic cauldrons. And you guys, Maria was literally just telling me how she wanted to buy me something. Everyone heard it. We all heard it, Maria. And I think that she should get me one of these. I'm just saying. They're probably like $500, so perhaps a little bit out of the price range of a normal gift to send a person. But they're so beautiful. They're literally so pretty. Like, it really makes me want to take up ceramics again. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, they are stunning. We're so, like, you and I are so shut with these drops. We'll be like, we
are so bad. We are literally so bad. It's embarrassing. Like, hate to see it.
I'll set alarms and everything, and something always comes up. Always.
Literally.
Without fail.
Like, and I want it so bad. I've never once made a single drop that I set a time for. So we are praying, if you will, that changes. Unlikely though.
We'll just admire the work. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I never needed a single thing I wanted.
We just need someone that we need to make friends with someone and be like, hey, do we get first dibs?
Literally. Hey, bestie. Saw you were posting something like this again. Was wondering if you could just let me have it. I'll still pay.
Oh yeah, easy. I will
just
pay.
Instead of you offering it up to the public, what if you just offered it directly to me?
Yeah, 100%. Screw the public. I'm just kidding, because you guys are public. Love you.
Serious as a knife. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope that you will join us again on Friday, September 23rd for our Coffee Talk episode, where we're going to read a few ghost stories and talk about witchy pop culture. Although I said wishy again, which... Lucky you, you'll get to hear me say in the episode.
Yeah.
Or September 30th for our 18th episode of season 3. You can keep an eye out on our Instagrams or Twitter, or you can go to our website, coffeeandcauldrons.com, to find all of our social media for more information. And don't forget to join us on September 24th on Patreon, Library Tier and Up, for our Intro to Heathenry class hosted by Warrior Witch Nike.
And when you join our Patreon, Magical Beginnings, our Patreon offers a special 25-minute part 2 episode, a huge library of articles about witchcraft, a Discord community full of fun events and discussions, and wonderful people, like wonderful humans. We love them very much.
Yes.
And we even have a tier that offers one-on-one conversations with Robin and myself.
Yes. So please, if you love our sexy, sensual, so hot voices, take a moment to review us on any streaming service, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other streaming service that you love. Giving us reviews is not only something we really enjoy reading, but it helps us get seen by new people. So for those of you who have already reviewed us or plan to, thank you very much. We appreciate it greatly.
So again, this is Coffee and Cauldrons
with Robin from At a Tired Witch on Instagram.
And Maria at Maria the Arcane on Instagram.
All right, you ready?
You ready? Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 5 witches!
Why do we both get so high pitched?
I don't know.